Now I'm going to show you a really cool plugin that we can use to actually fill the data for these services over here. So let's go ahead and switch to plugins, open up manage plugins, and then let's go ahead and do browse all plugins. And I'm interested in this Google Sheet Sync option here. If you can't find it, search Google Sheets Sync right here. Go ahead and install it. This plugin's super cool, and I think it will be handy for your future projects as well. All right, so once you've installed that and you're back in here, we want to actually go back to our components tab here. So go ahead and follow along with what we're doing here. Go to the store name and change the text here to do a hashtag sign or a pound sign like this, and then do store underscore name. And then for the dollar icon here, go ahead and name it total underscore price. Make sure you put that hashtag or the pound key here. Change this one to date with a hashtag before, and then status will be hashtag status. And I'll tell you why that's important in just a second. Once you've renamed, just go ahead and double check that you didn't make any typos in there. And while we're in here, I just want to do one last thing. Go into here for your store name and make sure to stretch it all the way to maybe right over here. And just to make sure the same thing with the date. I think that looks good. I want to select my date and status and bring them a couple pixels down. And also let me go ahead and I feel like we should move these up and center them along my component here. So let's group them together and then use a vertical line. I think that looks better. So now if I go back here, yeah, that looks way better. Now watch this. Select your services frame, go to plugins, and then do Google Sheet Sync. Go ahead and enter this link, which is in the resources for this lesson. So go ahead and take a moment to download that, get this link from that text file and input it into here. I've already gone ahead and made this sheet, this Google Sheet with sample data. So I'll show you in a second what that looks like. So if you actually open it up, you'll see I've put together this little Google Sheets with my data, with my store names, a couple dates, some prices, and some status and random items. This is all random data just to help us generate our screen. So with this Google Sheets, go ahead and use the link again, input it here, and then go ahead and choose update the current page only, and then use fetch and sync. As you can see here, our page is now completed. It's gone ahead and used that Google Sheets and generated this page for us. Of course, that's why we need to rename our fields so that this plugin will know what to grab from where. So yeah, be sure to read their documentation. You can do so by going to Google Sheet Sync and then clicking this little information icon down here where you can actually access their documentation and then see how you can use this for your own projects and set up your own Google Sheets. But I found that pretty cool, and that's why I wanted to include it in this lesson and tell you guys that you could do something like this. Plugins that you have access to are super powerful, so take advantage of them to generate your designs and save yourself a ton of time. So with that, I think our pages are pretty much all done here. Now we're going to come back and learn a bunch of other things. I know at this point you already have a lot of knowledge about Figma, and hopefully you're able to actually use this and apply all you've learned to your own designs. And really that's all this course is about, is to experiment with different tools that Figma's given you to generate some really nice designs. So before we wrap up this mock-up here, we're going to come back to it and do a bunch of things to make it even better. So I'll see you in the next lesson. All right, we've completed our mockup in the last lesson, and I want to take some time to go over our mockup and find opportunities and places where we can improve it, starting with the text and typography. So I'm going to switch over to a couple of resources that I've included in this lesson. Go ahead and open them up to check them out. I'm just going to quickly go through those resources so you know what you have access to. First of all, if you're trying to use custom fonts in your Figma projects, be sure to again download this font installer right here. So this is only required if you are using the web app. If you have the desktop app and you're using Figma in a desktop app, you don't need to worry about installing this font installer. So Figma itself uses hundreds of fonts accessible on Google Fonts. So if you head on over to fonts.google.com, you'll be able to access a lot of the fonts that are available in Figma, as well as explore some other ones. I'm not sure which fonts are currently on Figma, but I'm sure you'll be able to find that out if you're looking for a specific font. Otherwise, you can definitely download it from either Google Fonts, which is a great resource for finding fonts, or another resource such as the Adobe fonts as well. I believe this one requires a subscription or a membership for the Creative Cloud. So go ahead and check this out as well. You get access to tons of fonts. So yeah, go ahead and browse these resources if you're looking for a custom font. Another cool website I want to mention is fontpair.co. This website gives you a bunch of font pairs that you can use with different kinds of fonts that would look good together in your projects. There's a couple of different fonts here that you can explore and see which one you like and which one you want to use for your own projects. In this lesson, we're going to go ahead and actually apply this font combination or font pair in our application. So you can do one of two things. Either you can head on over to fontpair.co and then download this Rubik and Carla combination font or font pair. Or again, if you go to the resources for the project we were working on, Clean Kangaroo, and head on over to fonts, you'll be able to also download them from here as well and install them. So I'm going to go ahead and just install them myself. Make sure you select all the different weights for that font. In Mac, you can just go ahead and select all of them and then just double click to open and install all of them. And let's do the same for this other font here. Make sure again you select everything. Go ahead and open it up, install, and all done there. All right, so let's head on over to our Figma desktop app. Again, because I'm using the desktop app here, I don't need to install the font installer, but feel free to pause here and go through the font installer and make sure those fonts are applied on the web app as well if you're using the Figma web app. So far in our project, we've been using the default Roboto font here. So if I zoom in here, like for example, in our login page, our logo, everything's been using that Roboto font up until our main pages here, actually, where we started using some of the iOS components. If you remember, for example, for our tab bar and the navigation bars here. So once we started using that, everything kind of automatically switched to the default font that comes for iPhone's UI that we also installed, which is SF Pro Display. So I know this is super messy right now because in your projects, you typically want to stick to one or two fonts at most. You don't want to have multiple font combinations. And we also talked about this in our UX lesson as well. So let's just work our way from the login page in. So of course, we have the option of going in and changing every text to our new fonts that we downloaded. But I want to also show you a great way where you can set up styles, just like we set up styles for our colors. If you remember, we set up a color scheme. I want to show you how you can actually use styles for your typography and your text as well. So to add a type style to your Figma project, let's go ahead and first select text. Let's start with this logo text here. So we installed these two fonts. Typically, you want to use one font for your headings, so titles and logo text and things like that. And then the body text would be for everything else. So in this case, our header font is Rubik and the body font is going to be Carla. So let's apply Rubik here to this logo text. So go over here to where it says text. You can change the font by either browsing through here or you can also just go ahead and type the font name in here. So I already know it's Rubik, so I'm going to search that in here. And now we have Rubik applied here. I'm going to just apply a medium weight here. You can do other ones, like if you want to go really thick with black or really light. I think I like the medium here. It looks pretty good. It's standing out and it doesn't blend in. So let's go ahead and use that. So sometimes when you change fonts, your alignment might be changed. So go ahead and just double check that everything's aligned properly, and make sure I'm just going to make sure this logo is aligned right in the middle as well. I think that looks good now. So now let's go ahead and turn this into a type style that we can use on all the other pages. And again, the benefit is that if you at any point decide to change this font, you'll be able to do so in one place, and all of your pages will have that font and the styling applied. So let's go ahead and go to style here. Let's create a new style. And I just want to name it header, do a little dash, and then just give it the name of the font here. So it's Rubik. Let's do 26 point. That's just a name here. You don't have to put exactly what I'm putting in here. This is just for me to be able to identify my header font and easily see what size and font it is. So create style. And so now, as you can see here, if I go ahead and click on this again, this text has been attached to this type style of header, Rubik 26. So to demonstrate, if I go to this tutorial card, for example, now if you remember, this is an instance of a component. So we wouldn't want to edit things in here because otherwise it wouldn't be applied to the other tutorial card. So let's go ahead and go to master component from here, and it should take us right here. Now if I go ahead and click the title over here and then go to my styles here, I can apply the same header Rubik 26 style. That's the only style we have right now, but let's also set up a body style for this text here using our other font, which is Carla. Let's go ahead and change the text to Carla, and let's go ahead and maybe bump up the size to 17. Let's go ahead and create style. Let's do body dash Carla, and this one was 17 point. Create style. There we go. And now I have a body style, text style as well. So while we're in here with our components, let's go ahead and apply that to all the components here. So let's select our button enabled here and change the text to Carla as well. And then I want to go ahead and make it bold and change the font size here to 17 as well. I'm just going to make sure that it's centered here. That looks good. Let's go ahead and create a style for our button text here as well. So I'm going to do body Carla 17 point bold in here. There we go. So now that button has that style. It's even applied in here as well, because again, this is an instance of this button right here. All right, so let's go ahead and apply our fonts to our two components here. So first one, the store card. So let's go ahead and select this text here. We're going to set it to our Rubik font here. Let's do medium. For the size, I think we can do 22. Let's go ahead and add this text style as header Rubik 22. Now remember, you don't have to create a style for every font, but if you think you're going to reuse a certain font or a certain style of font on multiple pages or multiple components, I think this is the better way to do it than to individually change all of them. So let's go here and then select our styles and do body Carla 17. Same thing here. Lastly, here as well. Let's go ahead and just make sure everything's centered. Gonna center all of these. That looks good. Make sure these are also centered. Perfect. Let's go over here. Let's in our services list component, let's go ahead and change this one to the header Rubik 22 that we set up, and these ones are going to be the body Carla 17. So with those selected, let's do body Carla 17, and then maybe do bold for the price here. So let's unlink this or detach this style and do the style of body Carla 17 bold. I think that looks better. Why don't we go ahead and just bring this a few pixels down, a few pixels up, and then go ahead and bring my store name here down and try to align that with the other text here. And maybe we can bring this a few pixels down. I think that might look better. I'm going to go ahead and group these two together as well using Command G, and then go ahead and select these two and make sure they're centered, and also center them along with the rest of the component here. I think that's good. So our components here now have the right font. So why don't we take a quick pause and then apply our text styles to the rest of our mockups in the next lesson. Alright, so our components now have text styles applied, and if we actually go back to our mockups, we can already see some of those applied, like here with our buttons. Of course, like things like this forgot password button, because it's not a component, it hasn't been applied. So always feel free to check, go back in here and then select the right font. Just go ahead and align them again. Maybe bring this down a little bit, and bring these two a little bit up. That looks good. I'm going to select my terms here and also set it to style of body Carla 17 bold. Just going to stretch it all the way through. Now, if you remember before, we didn't have this and as a bolded font. So you can still go in here, double click and choose the word that you want, or multiple words, and then use the shortcut Command B, and then that will go ahead and unbold that part. And what else do we have here? We have our payment. Let's go ahead and select all of these and do a text style. Body Carla 17 point. That looks good. Our button automatically has that Carla text. Let's change this payment to header Rubik 26. Just gonna stretch that out, center it. That looks good. Let's see what we need to change in here. We just need to change the search text over here to, let's do body Carla 17. And again, make sure you center and align things properly. For our main pages here, I see my cards already had the font applied because that was a component, but I think everything else, other than the navigation and tab bars here, are inside the page. So why don't we go ahead and first do the tab bar and the navigation bar. So let's click into one of the components here, or one of the instances of the navigation bar. Go to master component, and then here let's apply the same fonts here. Let's actually go ahead and select Rubik as our font and keep everything else the same. And then let's go ahead and create a new header, Rubik 36 point. It looks like I just made a mistake here in the name. It's actually a 34 point font. So just go ahead and edit style and change the name here to 34. From here, you can even add description. So if you have a team and you're working with them, you can tell them what this font should be applied to and things like that. I want to go over here to the tab bar. Make sure you don't have any of these ones selected, but the tab bar itself. Then go ahead and change this to body Carla 17 bold. Fix this in the center. Let's do the same thing. I'm just holding shift here and then doing the same thing. Let's go ahead and center my text here, bring it down. So it looks like it's just 15 pixels from the bottom. So let's maintain that 15 pixels from the bottom and make sure that that and this are centered as well. And it looks like it is. You don't need to change the status bar because that's going to be the default font in there. We won't have any control over this. So let's go back to our mockups. So the navigation and tab bars here now have the right font, except for this button here. So let's change that to body Carla 17 bold. Looks good. So let's go into here. Let's select style and do this style here. Or let's actually do the 22.1 like so. So this page looks good now. Let's go ahead here. Let's actually go ahead and make the email just this one here. Not so it's not bold, and then choose this one as the Carla 17 bold. Or actually we can even do Rubik header 22. Let's go ahead and just make sure those are centered and change the address here to body Carla 17 bold. Change these ones, align to vertical centers. And I'm just going to repeat the same process for the other two buttons as well. Feel free to pause here and do that on your designs. All right, so with those applied, I think almost everything here has that new font. The only exception being these two fields here. So let's just jump in here and make sure those are also using a text style of Carla 17 and center the vertical. Same thing here. All right, with our two new fonts applied to our mockup, you can see things look a lot better now. It has a unique taste to it, the whole app and the whole mockup feel. And if I go to my services page, I see some of the text here looks like is too big. Like for example, the date stamp here and the status can probably be a little bit smaller than this. So why don't we go ahead and select this, go to master component. And then for these two, I'm actually going to detach the style and then use a font of 14. And let's go ahead and actually change the fill color to a bit lighter. I think that looks good. So why don't we go ahead and create a new style from that and maybe do this one as body Carla 14. And then apply the same thing to our status text here. So let's change the font here and I'm going to apply the same fill 585858. All right, so that looks good. So now I just want to quickly switch over to my styles. Over here for my color scheme, I have a primary text and a secondary text. So I think we're not going to actually go ahead and dive into adding some primary text and secondary text color here. But you can go ahead and do that, and then from our components or wherever you want to add similar colors for the text that we have here, instead of having a custom one here, you can just go ahead and actually use your color styles, but this time you'll be able to use a color style for the text. We won't jump into that here, but feel free to apply those to your projects. Now if I go back, things look a lot cleaner here. So yeah, wherever you see things look a little bit odd, feel free to go ahead and change the color like we've done. So you can apply the same colors to here as well. And wherever you see you have text that you don't want it to stand out as much as the other text, feel free to go ahead and apply multiple color styles based on your text. So there we have it. That's our type styles here. Very useful in Figma, and definitely go ahead and apply it. And keep in mind you have access to it from here. Whenever you just select your canvas here, you should be able to access your local styles, both color styles and text styles here. And then from here, you can actually go ahead and tweak them as well. So if you decide to at some point, let's say, make your header 30 points here, as you can see in my project, it will change everywhere else. Of course, you might need to go in and tweak the sizes of some of the text boxes here, but feel free to make tweaks and apply this to your own projects as well. All right, so if you've been following along so far, we've pretty much completed our first mockup here. In this lesson, I'm just going to dig in and polish things up a little bit and then add some of the necessary things that we need. So let's just go ahead here and make those changes. Feel free to follow along. I also encourage you to go through your layers panel here and really make sure the naming of everything inside of your layers, the grouping and all of that is correct and it makes sense. I'm not going to do this in this lesson because it would probably take too much time, but definitely feel free to do that. And I always encourage that you stay organized with your designs so that not only you, but also other people, maybe people you're collaborating with or your team, can make sense of what's going on with your design and each of your frames. So first thing I want to do here is actually go ahead and apply the status bar that we have here to all the other pages as well. So right now we only have it on these 3 pages. So to do that, let's go ahead and start with the map page first. Let's actually just go ahead and copy the status bar from the request page because it will be very similar, and then select your map frame and do Command V or Control V on Windows. Let's go ahead and bring our search bar a little bit down. That looks good. And then let's go to our payment page here. For our payment page, we can just use a simple status bar like this because we don't have anything underneath to have to blur it. So go ahead and just copy that and paste it into here. And then for our tutorial step page here, go ahead and copy it in here. So as you see here, the status bar is way too dark for this page. Typically on darker pages, we use a white status bar. So let's head on over to our iOS UI components file here. So if you go over here, if you still have this open, you should be able to find the white version of that status bar as well. And then you can just go ahead and select the whole thing here, and you can go ahead and just copy it from here and paste it over here. Let's go ahead and just use Shift and the arrow keys to move them up. And then of course using Command Option K or Control Alt K on Windows to create that as a component. And then let's go ahead and rename this one to status bar /light. and rename this one to status bar /dark. So this way, if we go back to our mockups, we can just go ahead and simply choose this as the light version from the side. And we can go ahead and copy that to our login page as well. Move things down a bit. I'm going to go ahead and just move my guide here. I think that's good. Maybe move this down a little bit too, as well as everything else here. That looks good. Now, you might have noticed we use a lot of icons from that website, flaticon.com. So if you don't have the full version or a subscription with Flaticon, it's definitely required for you to give credit to the authors of those icons. So go ahead to our resources for the project here, and then open this appnotes.txt. And then down here, you'll see there's some credits here. So let's go ahead and just copy that and just go ahead and paste it somewhere in our project here. Now, of course, because we're not developing this app, we're just designing it. We'll just need to pass this along to whoever's developing this application to make sure that they put these icons where it belongs in their application. You'll notice the casing is all uppercase here. So why don't we go ahead to our text options here, click the 3 dots, and then change the casing to just lowercase. And we can even bring this lower here and add another text to say icon credits. Bolt that there and put it here for whoever wants to use these in their project. Cool. So that's always important to do if you're using icons that require attributions. The last thing I want to do here is just improve my payment page here. It looks too plain right now. So let's go ahead and bring this button a little bit lower. And then let's go ahead and bring my credit card a little bit lower as well. I want to go ahead and insert kind of a description text here and say, please add a credit card for your account. Now, as you can see, my text is going on and on. So what you can do is go to the text option here, click the 3 dots, and then go ahead and make, and you can go ahead and either choose auto height or fixed size. So if you choose fixed size here, we can go ahead and bring our text here and resize it to maybe match our button here. So a 25 pixel from the side. Let's go ahead and remove this from here. That looks good. Let's go ahead and move the credit card a little bit lower. Go ahead and detach the style and change it to, let's try body Carla 17. And then let's do a little bit of a lighter kind of font here. And then let's go ahead and just finish this text here. Please add a credit card for your account to use for your laundry service. That looks good. I want to make sure this is 325 and then center it here. Maybe lower it a little bit. Add some breathing room to my design. I think that looks better. Maybe we can center this as well. Perfect. Sometimes it's good to add these kinds of description prompts to your users, either to tell them why we're collecting this payment credit card here, or tell them when this credit card might be used. And that concludes our mockup design here for the mobile app. So if you're also interested about doing a web project or a web app design, we will do that in future sections. Now I want to give you an exercise to do for yourself. If I zoom into my request page here, you'll see we have our Choose Laundry store. The idea here is that they scroll through the different stores and find the one they like to request their laundry service from. And then they hit this request service button. But there's really no feedback to them right now in our design to tell them that the order or the request here has been placed. So feel free to add a completion state or some sort of feedback to our user, maybe some sort of card that tells them your order has been placed or your request has been placed. That would be pretty cool. So go ahead and add something to tell the users that their request has been sent in. And then once you do that, feel free to include me in your project or email me, and I'll be more than happy to provide some feedback for you as well. Great.